What is up, broskies and brokahanuses? Welcome back to another episode of The Jersey Fund, a sports gambling podcast. Trying to do 30 ball clubs in 30 days here. Already had a bit of a hiccup as I was a bit under the weather, but we're going to keep it rolling for you all. Hopefully the voice doesn't cut out. Shouldn't be too long of a one today because unfortunately we're talking about a team that is near and dear to my heart. The no longer Oakland Athletics. They're going by just the Athletics. It's super weird to see a team on all of these gambling apps with just a single name. It's almost like the football team back was a couple years ago. So very odd to see. Very tough situation for a lot of Oakland Athletics fans. Vegas is finally getting a ball club at some point. They're still going to be playing in the crappy little beanbox that is, I believe, Sacramento this year. So could be fun for some batters. I think that is why there's a lot of hype around this team in terms of the fantasy baseball circles. Obviously, a lot of hype for some good reason on some young players, which I think we're going to jump into right away. Those couple young players being Nick Kurtz and Jacob Wilson.
Before we get into today's episode of the National Pastime with Petey, he would like me to relay some very important information that he left out of the episode pertaining to Tyler Soderstrom. Petey is completely out on Tyler Soderstrom this year. Do not be fooled by the hot start he had last year. The longevity is a question. We saw it last year. He was leading the league in home runs for about a month, maybe a little more, and then just fell off a cliff. So do not buy Tyler Soderstrom in fantasy. Stay away from him in those environments. And without further ado, here is the rest of the episode.
Couple dudes who came onto the scene hot last year. Wilson had a little bit of experience in the bigs. Kurtz was an exciting one for a lot of people to come up. He had been really tearing it up in the minors, really deserved that call up, finally got it, and did not disappoint. He is high on a lot of people's draft boards. He's very high on mine as well. I think he's going to have a great season. I don't think he's going to disappoint. For those of you who are baseball ball knowers, love it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it, he's got a beautiful swing. Obviously, it always looks a little bit better from the left side, but it really is compact. It's short, doesn't have a lot of holes in it. Tends to shorten up with two strikes, but can still drive the ball even with two strikes. So I'm a big fan of Nick Kurtz. I think he plays a pretty solid first base as well, and I think he's going to be a cornerstone, hopefully, for this Athletics team for a long time. You don't typically see that because the ownership there sucks, so they'll probably find a way to blow it. But for the short-term future, you're going to get to see a lot of Kurtz with the Athletics. Jacob Wilson, I'm going to touch on a bit more later. The son of Jack Wilson, one of my favorite shortstops of all time. Longtime Pittsburgh Pirate. So very cool story there. But we're actually going to jump into some of their other younger guys because I think that's where this team is most exciting. Mainly one of them being the guy that they traded for, the dude on my back, Mason Miller. They traded him for this guy, Leo DeVries. He's a shortstop. He's 19. Obviously, we just talked about Jacob Wilson, who has been manning short for them right now. But I think there's some flexibility in Wilson's game, and honestly, I could potentially see a call-up in the very near future for him. I think a lot of it is going to be determined by service time and kind of trying to manipulate that. So he's only 19. They have time, but he is a tough out. He got the call-up to Double-A last year with Midland. He actually faced one of my buddies who plays on the Amarillo Sod Poodles. Minor league teams have the best names for anyone who doesn't know. Look them up. The Midland Rocks, I think, or something. The Amarillo Sod Poodles. All these super fun, interesting names. They have alternate jerseys that are awesome. We could do a whole episode on that, but let's focus on the Athletics for right now and this young talent, Leo DeVries. My buddy said he was a tough out, and my buddy is not an easy pitcher to hit off of. 96, 97, kind of mid three-quarters, little high three-quarter action, ton of run on his ball, hammer curveball, nasty combio. So not an easy guy to face, and he said that he basically ate him up. So this 19-year-old has a bright future. I'm excited for him to get to the bigs. I don't know if it'll be this year. Again, they've got a guy there already in Wilson who can handle it, and it's really going to depend on that service time and how much they want to manipulate that. But the other two guys that they got in that trade are Braden Nett and Henry Baez, who are both starting pitchers, very solid arms, both 23 years old. So right around the time where you want to start really pushing these guys to see what they got. And this rotation is a great place for them to try and figure that out because, in my opinion, it is hot garbage. It's a good thing that we're shooting this one today because we actually would have missed out on one of the additions that they did have, being Aaron Savali, if you want to call that an addition. I'm not a huge Savali guy. He pitched okay for the White Sox there for a hot second. We obviously traded. I don't even want to talk about all that. Once we talk about the White Sox, I can trash them then. But Savali going out to the Athletics could be an interesting piece. I think he does help the rotation. He's an inning eater, so that's definitely going to help him there. But Severino and Springs are at the front of that. Sevy's going to eat innings too, but he's old. He had a lot of bad outings last year. He'll still throw the occasional 7 innings of no-run ball and dominate a team, but I think his prime is past him. I think Springs is unfortunately an injury-prone guy who I'm not really in love with. And then the back end of that rotation is more hot garbage considering Savali is their 3. So don't really need to dive too much into that. I'm not really a fan of what's going on out in the bullpen either. So I do think that there are angles for both Braden Nett and Henry Baez to get some innings potentially this year with the big league club. The other piece to that trade was Edouard Nial, if I'm saying that right, Nunez. He got a couple of sniffs of coffee in the majors with both San Diego and Oakland, but I'm not a big fan of his. I watched a lot of Athletics games these past couple of years because of Mason Miller and because we were gambling a lot on Mason Miller, which I can touch on in the Padres cast. So please stick around for that one because that's going to be way down the road because we're going alphabetical. But anyways, I'm not a fan of him, so I don't think Nunez is really going to play a big role. I think where the Athletics were really hoping to get that payoff was in the young shortstop, and then hopefully one of these two starters ends up being a top half of the rotation type of guy. So I think they're going to get their shots, and yeah, I think we can move on to the offense now. The offense is exciting, and I think the offense is what's driving this win total of 75.5. It's driving it up, is what I'm saying. Again, Kurtz and Wilson are probably going to be at the top of that order, working it up there. Shea Langoliers is a very fun catcher. I think he's super athletic. He's going to get you some steals. I do think Langoliers can be a fantasy piece for people who still honor that catcher position, as you should. Brent Rooker has been a guy on my fantasy team the past few years, so I'm obviously going to speak highly of him. Probably not going to keep him this year because people have finally figured out, oh, this dude's pretty damn good. Despite high strikeout numbers, he still can drive the piss out of a baseball, splits a lot of gaps, drives in a lot of runs. Overall, really good ball player. Super good guy, too, and calls people out on Twitter, which is fucking awesome. Talks mad shit, so big fan of Brent Rooker. I think he's going to have a good year. They added Jeff McNeil, who I think is going to be a nice piece for them as well. McNeil's a bit of a bitch, but I think he's a good ball player. I think he can play anywhere fine. I don't think he's going to blow you away in any position. Not going to strike out a lot. Good bat-to-ball guy, so decent addition there. You got the Law Dog somewhere in that lineup too, Lawrence Butler. I do think that he is a fun piece who is going to find his way periodically into fantasy teams. I think he's the kind of guy that you don't want to necessarily roster for the entire year, but when the Law Dog is hot, get the dude in your fucking lineup. He's going to have a couple week stretches where he'll hit 5 nukes, steal 5 bags, drive in 15 runs, and he's going to win you a couple weeks. And then he's going to go ase frio, muy frio. Freaking dude goes cold. He cannot hit water if he fell out of a damn boat at times. So when he's hot, get him into your lineup ASAP. Make sure you don't do it too late. Jump on him. Get him in there, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that you necessarily need to draft right away. Denzel Clark, super exciting outfielder. I think he's fun, but nothing really with the bat. He's going to make some great plays in the field, which is cool and all, but Max Muncy, not my favorite Max Muncy, but he's still a very good Max Muncy. Again, probably not a fantasy piece, but could be. One guy who I'm always going to vouch for, even though he burns me every time, is Zach Geloff or Zach Geloff. I don't know how you say his name exactly, but he's starting the year on the IL more than likely. But another fun bat. He's like a Colt Keith on the Tigers type of bat. Righty, though. But both of them, for some reason, pull on my heartstrings, and I kind of want to find ways to make them good. I feel like Geloff should be like a 30-30 guy. He'll have stretches where he shows it, and then he'll strike out like 15 at-bats in a row. So not a bad bet if you're going to be betting on strikeouts. Kind of the live, mid-game, every AB, take a look, see where his odds are, hammer it. Me and my buddies have fun with that one, but yeah, another guy where if he gets off to the right start, kind of like a Torkelson, same idea. If these guys get off to that right hot start, I would put a flyer in on them. So again, the guys to 100% hammer, take on your fantasy baseball team, Nick Kurtz and Brent Rooker. I don't think Wilson has a lot of fantasy value. He's going to get knocks, but he's not necessarily a big-time fantasy guy. Shea Langoliers could be a fun catcher for you. I think you still need to kind of pick and choose your spots with him, be in the right kind of league that really does value stolen bases for that to really work. Outside of that, there's not many other exciting pieces really to this team. So it could be a ball club that's scrappy, that wins some ball games, but I think the pitching is what's going to drag this team down at the end of the day. So I'm going to stay away from the over 75.5 here. I'm going to take the under on that, because I just think this pitching staff's going to hurt them too much. Again, I think the offense at times can be fun. They play in a ballpark that is going to be conducive to offense, which ultimately I think is going to hurt their pitching. So keep an eye out on certain fantasy players throughout the year on the offensive side. I think you can stay away from pretty much everyone in their pitching staff, unless you're in like some kind of quality starts league and Sevy is putting some stuff together. He's not going to be a crazy K-rate guy, but he's going to throw 6 innings every single night. So maybe if you're in a quality start league, that could be a good play. But outside of that, I'm staying away from most of the Athletics in fantasy. Now, one guy, a sleeper for me, who I do think can produce something if he is in the right role, is Jack Perkins. He was a guy that they called up late last year. He may start the year on the IL. It depends on how his recovery is going. We're going to know more of that as pitchers and catchers report. But I think he's going to start the season healthy, and it just depends on what role they use him in. Last year, they used him in basically everything. They brought him up, started him as a bridge guy. So he was throwing 2 to 3 innings, kind of in tougher situations, sort of a fireman. But my goodness, was his stuff freaking electric. 96 to 98 with the fastball with a lot of life, freaking sharp slider. I think he can be a asset for this Athletics team. But again, it depends on where. Because then they moved him to the closer spot once they got rid of Miller. He closed out 3, 4, 5 games. I think he got a couple saves in there. And then they moved him back to the starting rotation where he originally was in AA or AAA, one or the other. Somewhere in the minors he was starting, and he had a couple of electric starts there too. But then his arm went out. So I don't know if that was just a number of innings thing. I know the reason why they moved him from bridge to closer was to try and monitor those innings, keep those innings low. But Jack Perkins is a guy to watch out for if they're using him in either that closer role or a starter role. I think as a starter, he could be a very fun piece. He's going to rack up strikeouts. So if you're in a categories league, could be a great guy for that. And if he's a closer, I think he's playable in almost all leagues, because this team is going to be a team that should win right around 70 ball games, and a majority of those ball games should be pretty close. So he should get a lot of save opportunities out there. I could see Jack Perkins having a very good year there. So he's my sleeper in this group. Obviously, Leo DeVries, if he makes it up, not really a sleeper. Pick his ass up. Put him in a lineup, because they're going to have to play him every single day if they move him up. But that's to be seen. So my final couple pieces here with the A's are they a World Series team? Sure, based on the fact that I said under 75.5 wins, you all know I'm going to say no. I don't think this is a World Series team. Do I think they have pieces to build towards that? Absolutely. But this pitching staff's going to kill them. A bit of lack of bench depth, too. And again, some of these guys are more so just fun players. They could be good, but are they going to be? You don't really know. So I'm going to say no, not a World Series team. I'm going to say under 75.5 wins. But I am going to provide you with my best bet for player props for the Athletics, which is Jacob Wilson, their starting shortstop, over 160 hits. It's plus 125. You can find it on the DraftKings player futures. You go to hits, 160 plus, and you click Jacob Wilson. Last year, he had 151 in 125 games. No reason why he doesn't start 150 plus for them this year, in my opinion. Hit 313 last year. Even as a rookie, had a decent enough 100 ABs, hit right around 260. So I think he's a good ball player. I think if he starts 150 games, he should easily get to 160 hits. He doesn't walk, swings at fucking everything. Kind of like a Nico Horner, Nick Madrigal type of player there, where he's going to find a way to get his little slappies, going to occasionally drive a baseball, but we don't give a fuck what kind of hit it is as long as it's a hit and as long as he gets 160 of them. So best bet, Jacob Wilson, 160 plus hits at minus 125. So that wraps it up for the Athletics. Again, a team that used to be near and dear to my heart while they had Mason Miller can now eat shit, basically, because I am shitting all over them. I wish them nothing but the best. I love Athletics fans. I really do wish they were still in Oakland. Fuck their ownership. That's what the fans say too. But what can we do? All we can try and do now is just make some money off of these boys here. So hopefully you all enjoyed that little breakdown. I got great comments on the Diamondback one, so thank you all for that. We're going to keep this rolling. We're hopefully going to continue to give out winners on our Twitter. Please follow there. The best bets are in fuego, which means on fire for all of you non-Duolingo purples. So, again, super excited to get rolling with baseball season, but basketball season is still here. Not NBA guys, huge college basketball guys, and we are hot right now. So follow us at the Jersey Fund on Twitter to get those picks, and I will see you on the next episode.